Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to a brand new video today. This is my Aami series review for fantasy. I'm going to link a whole bunch of articles that you can use in the comments below, and I'm also going to be using FanFooty today to go through the games. FanFooty is a really good resource to use after the games have been played. Every player has a link that you can see their previous stats from everywhere, and you can hover over the little icons that they have, and you get a description of what they've done that game, which is perfect if you haven't quite seen all the game or you just want confirmation of a role someone had played. So I always use it to look at stats after the game. So let's crack into it. We'll crack into the Carlton St Kilda game, which had everyone saying that we were going to see really high scoring footy, and this the rules were done, and I don't think that quite worked out, but that's in the past now, and let's get into it. So with the Blues, the thing I noticed with the Blues is maybe the ruck role isn't as dead as everyone thinks. Mark Pitnet, who obviously was trying in the Amy series, did really well, and he was up against Paul Hunter, so that's good for Gorn in the coming weeks. So that's something I noticed. And a very popular player, Zach Williams, getting rubbed out, which is good and bad. Bad because we don't get an easy back pick. Good because that makes everyone change to someone else, and that's going to be very unique who people go to. So for Carlton, I noticed the CBAs was Cripps, Walsh, Dow, Williams, which is a big change from last year. They had Kerno in there, they had Setterfield in there as well, and the fourth player eludes me right now. But if we see that centre bounce, I've sort of predicted Walsh. I've been hot on Walsh for a while. Cripps should be in there, no doubt. Paddy Dow's an interesting one, being priced at what he is. He had the role, and his scoring was no different to what we saw last year. I don't think he'll be a cash cow that we can rely on. Zach Williams, when he does come back, I think he will be playing in there, which is great. But you can't start with him. You cannot start with Zach Williams. That's going to have to be you get a look at him. I guess that's the good thing. See how much that forward role also comes into effect. And if he goes really good in round two, then you've got someone you can trade to. So that's an easy one. Uh, the rookies that we saw Lockie O'Brien, who I don't think I'm not sure if he's going to play, and his scoring wasn't the best for what. Yeah, his points per minute weren't they? Oh, they were pretty good actually. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong line. His points per minute was pretty good, but he didn't get that many minutes, so might not be there. I talked about Paddy Dow. I don't think he'll be, and the other one is Oscar McDonald, who will probably play for Carlton early season. And my page is refreshing. But his price is maybe a little bit too much. He's not going to score that 82 every week. He'll score more around 50 each week. So that's also a pass for me. All right, on to St Kilda. St Kilda multitask Saints is what I noticed, and that goes with everything I've been hearing. They're big into having players do multiple roles, and that has been a trend across the years for me for St Kilda, and it makes it very hard to pick them because when you think they're going to be playing a role that's very good for scoring, it turns out to be not so good for scoring. They end up in a different role, or they end up splitting the role with someone. I think we'll see that again this year. That being said, Jack Steele will probably have another great year. Higgins, let's hope he has a good year. That'd be great for everyone. His numbers have been good in junior years. Loney might become a half-backer, so maybe some DPP there. So we'll just have to wait and see. Sorry, not Jack Loney, Jack Sinclair. Too many Jacks at bloody St Kilda. That'll be one for us to watch. Rookies, we saw Paul Hunter, so that could be an R3 for us, although I don't know how long he's going to play, depending on Marshall and Ryder, how long they come back for. Highmore, who is in doubt for round one, didn't score that well, but we're strapped for back. So if he gets picked, you got to pick him. That's pretty much how that will go down. Mackenzie, pass. Didn't play much time anyway. Bytel, didn't play much time. If he does get picked, look into him. Keep an eye out for him, but I think he's priced a bit too much anyway. Frawley, injured. You wouldn't pick him anyway. And an interesting one, Jimmy Webster. Jimmy Webster had a really good year 2 years ago. Well, not a really good year, but a year that if he did that average again at his price this year, it'd be good. Is he best 22? Don't know. Best 26? Yeah, he is. So we'll have to watch and see what the Saints come out with round one when they name their side. But it might be a miss. There's a few options around there in the defence anyway that we're all going to be picking. So just keep Webster on the watch list. So that's the first game down. Let's crack on to the second game. Second game being Collingwood and Richmond. So we'll start with Collingwood. Collingwood game plan could really fit 2021 gameplay. Now everyone's talking about of course, the halfbacks going bananas this round, which there was obviously quite a lot, and the marks being up. But if you take out that Port Adelaide game with the marks, they were only 10 marks up a game, which might be a preseason thing because everyone was backed off. The tackles were down as well, so maybe everyone backed off and there wasn't as much pressure and was able just to chip around and get those 45 kicks because no one was manning their man up. But we'll have to see how that one plays out during the year. But if that is true, Collingwood they love doing that. So they could really chip that ball around, get a lot of marks off that halfback. So that could be something that happens in 2021. For their centre bounces, they went with DeGoey, Pendlebury, Elliott, and Sire. Obviously, Adams has got to slot back in there, so he'll kick one of them out. And Sidebottom, when he was on the ground, was attending centre bounces, but I don't know if he'll be right to go round one. So that's an interesting one. One that I do think is real, though, is DeGoey. DeGoey will have a strong presence at the centre bounce this year, and if he can be Dustin Martin 2.0 is getting thrown around, he will be really good for us, and I think he might be a bit underpriced there. So definitely have to go at least on your watch list, and if you're keen, jump on. Braden Sire is another one there I talked about. I think he might get pushed out again. So old mate fill in is not going to fill in for our sides, I don't think. I think he might be on the outer. So that's one to watch. We'll have to see what round one teams come out with and if Sidebottom gets picked, I guess. But he might be first out if Sidebottom comes back. And Sidebottom not playing wing by the looks of it. He did look like he was going to be playing in the centre bounces. All right, rookies. Bianco did not play for Collingwood, so you can probably cross him off your list. Kelly, he had a shoulder injury, collarbone, so another one we can cross off our list. Henry didn't really score that well. He's a little bit expensive, so that's a pass for me. If he was basement price, it might be, but because we got to pay up that money for him, no. Rusco, another one. I don't think you'd pay up the money for him. He's not going to score that well. And one to just watch, he's a little bit more expensive. Tyler Brown. If he can get a role in Collingwood's side and score okay, he might be alright, but probably not. You're probably not paying that for him. So that's just one maybe to watch. But I don't think anyone will start with him. I certainly not. Alright, on to Richmond, who had Jaden Short, who scored one of the highest scores ever in preseason, which is, yeah, if he can continue that, you'd have to pick him, but I'm not so confident. But we'll have to see if he comes out round one and does that. Oh, well, that's pretty tough. And those guys that start with him will be ahead of the competition, that's for sure. What else with Richmond? There's probably no change to what their style is that have won them 2 premierships in a row. Not much change player-wise. What you see is what you get. And I think they played close to a side that they'll roll out with round one. And I don't see anyone really of value there. I think the only one you'd be looking at is Short. What rookies they had? They had Collier Dawkins, who watch list for some time in the year. Hope he gets picked. He did play midfield when he played midfield, so that's good for us. If we can get Collier Dawkins comes in and he plays and he's attending centre bounce, it could be a really good cash cow. Martin with a Y might be one as well at some stage to play on a wing or something like that. And then the two rucks that will accompany Nank will be Chol and Coleman Jones. Coleman Jones suspended for a little bit, of course, but that's just one to watch out for there. So that's it for Richmond. Nothing really to report besides Jaden Short's phenomenal score. All right, on to the next game when it loads. North Melbourne and Hawthorn. For North Melbourne, we'll start with North Melbourne. We had a lot of rookies that are putting their hand up, and obviously North Melbourne cleaned out their list. It will be who plays at what times and who gets selected round one. I think there's a lot of people that they could. So it's going to be highly volatile at North Melbourne. I think they might, they probably ring the changes. They'll want to see it, what their list looks like. And of course, the new coach, John Noble. So we will have to see what that looks like. What they ran with at the centre bounces for this game, keeping in mind they had a few of their stars out, was Davies Uniacke, Simpkin, Tyson, Hayden. I don't know. Once Cunnington ends and Dumont come back in that side, that could look very different. So even though Dom Tyson's one I've got on my radar there, and I know Davies Uniacke is another one, and Hayden is a good rookie option, none of them could end up in there. We'll have to see what North Melbourne's centre bounces look like. I'm not confident on what they ran with on the weekend at all. Will be what they run with in round one. So the rookies that I was talking about, there is a ton. We've got Spicer, Lazaro, Campbell, Powell, Phillips, Young, Turner, Hayden. Oh, the list goes on. There's a lot there that are undervalued. It will be picking the right ones for North Melbourne, and we'll have to see what they come out with round one for a team. I think they have a later game, so that's might be good. The round one lockout's definitely going to be a challenge, regardless. All right, on to Hawthorn. Hawthorn did what they needed to on the day. Of course, they've got some players to come back as well, so their centre bounce attendance probably wasn't anything to write home about either. Being Warple, Shield, Phillips, Howe. Probably when Mitchell and Amira come out, two of them are definitely getting kicked out. So we'll have to monitor that one. Also, Cousins did play there late last year, but I didn't see him play. So again, watch round one for Hawthorn's midfield setup. Hawthorn did, however, give us some good rookies and some that will probably play round one. Kaczynski being a 170 back. Hopefully he keeps Mitch Lewis out, gives us a warm body on the bench for round one. And then on to the next one, which is Brockman. Brockman had a really good first quarter. I'm not as bullish on him getting selected. I know Clarkson's come out and said pretty much he's keen on him, but I just don't know. And I don't know how long he'll hold his spot for, and I think his scoring won't be as good. He's not going to kick 3 goals 2 each week, especially playing for Hawthorn this year. Might be a miss, I don't know. He's also a little bit more than basement, so if I'm strapped, he might be one of the last ones I'll pick. Brockman. On to the next one, which is Downey, who I am quite keen on. He will play a wing, thanks Tom Scully. Tom Scully, if you're listening, probably not all the best, but you really done us fantasy coaches a solid by giving a spot to Downey. So Downey is one who will play on the wing, and I've got no hesitation having Downey in my side. Nash is there, Connor Nash. He scored okay. Does he take Brockman's spot? I don't know, but we'll have to see. I think there might be a few spots there at Hawthorn, but I'm just not sure. Giath, who did really well on half back. Listening to the commentary, Dunstan was huge on him, Mr. Hawthorn, and he scored really well on half back. So I probably won't start with him because his scoring in the past has been not the best. But if he can do that role on halfback for Hawthorn, they tend to score a lot down there. Like look at Greaves last year, Sicily, players like that. They and Scrimshaw, Day when he's been going down there. So that's just one to watch. Just put him on your watch list. If he does well round one, you might get him in for maybe someone who didn't perform so well in the back line. The back line is certainly going to be hard for us in those spots because there just is no rookies. So that's one to have on your watch list. And that's it for Hawthorn. So let's crack on to our next one, which is Geelong versus Essendon. Geelong, lots of depth. The old man's club, obviously, they've got a lot of players in now. I don't think it's the rookies are going to find it real hard at Geelong to crack the side this year. They're pushing for the premiership. They probably got one last push in them. This is the year. I think rookies are going to find it very hard at Geelong this year. A stacked side, so that's what I see with Geelong. Geelong ran with Dangerfield, Selwood, Parfitt, and Guthrie at the centre bounces. The only one out is Duncan, who pushed late last year into the midfield, but he'll probably go back out to a wing. So with Dangerfield being in the midfield, I'm all in on that. And I think they probably will line up Dangerfield, Selwood, Parfitt, Guthrie come round one in there. Rookies, there's no real rookies at Geelong. The only one I'll talk about is not really a rookie or even rookie priced is Jordan Clark. If he's named round one, lock. If he's not named round one, we'll look elsewhere. But that's pretty much it at Geelong. On to Bombers. So the Bombers have a lot of injuries actually. Like a lot of players not quite fit or you're not up to it. So Geelong Bombers could have a lot of opportunity there. The other thing I'm worried about with Bombers is their midfield. So at this game in the centre bounces, they ran with Merritt, Parrish, Caldwell, Shield, but McGrath didn't attend that many. Now McGrath last year had a breakout year in the midfield. I'd expect him to come back in. Caldwell is a popular pick, but I just don't know who he pushes out of the main midfield rotation there. Merritt, Parrish, Shield are all really good midfielders. So is it McGrath that does pop out like he was in this game? But he very well could be part of their main centre bounce rotation. So I'm not sold on Caldwell at all. He didn't score that well in the NEAFL. I mean, anyone can score well in the NEAFL. He does have a lot of centre bounces though, so the role's there, which is great. That's what we want to see. But I want to wait on him. I've got a few other forwards. I might be able to go down to him if he does well and one of them doesn't perform. So that's where I sit with Caldwell. The rookies we have are Harrison Jones, who I think will play around one. He will be his basement priced. He will not score that well, but he should play quite a lot, I think. So a slow cash burn there for Harrison Jones. Who else did we have? We had Ned Cahill, who did all right. He might get a game round one. He's never been a scorer. I think that would be a miss for me. We had Brian, the ruckman. So if Phillips and Draper go down, he may get a gig, but probably a pass there. We had Perkins, who didn't get much game time. Probably he was the midfielder way back at the draft. We thought, oh, he might play, but it doesn't look like so. But Cox is looking like he's going to play, but he's not going to score that well. So for his price tag, that's a miss. And the other one I'll talk about is Peter Wright, who did score okay in this game, but being a key forward, his price, not the most consistent, never been a superstar, I think you'd give him a miss as well. So that's Essendon. Let's move on to the next one, which is the GWS Giants. GWS Giants. Saw halfback uncertainty. I know everyone's been thinking about Cumming and whoever else is playing on halfback, and they definitely have the spots. I mean, they lost Core, they lost uh, Shaw, and Whitfield's not playing there. So there's definitely spots there. Oh, and Williams is gone as well. So there's spots there, but I just don't know who's going to take them. Like Cumming didn't stick his hand up. There was a few players that did stick their hand up. They've put looks like Perriman's going back there. Reed had a good game in defence. Buckley had a good game in defence. So who knows who's going to end? We're going to have to see what GWS's who gets named there first of all, but then what it actually looks like after round one, because where players get named is not always where they line up, of course. So I don't know what's going on there. The midfield picture does look a bit clearer though for GWS, which is great because that was something I was a bit worried about. They ran with Hopper, Cogs, Taranto, Kelly, and Green as their main people to go through the centre bounces. Now I expect Kelly to play mostly wing, which would mean be expecting Hopper, Cogs, and Taranto to be the main ones that attend their centre bounces, with Green chipping in. The only worry would be De Boer, but he seems to now tag halfback flankers, which might be a pretty crucial role this year. So I think Taranto I was worried about, but now I think Taranto will do very, very well this season, and he's very underpriced. So this game's cleared that up for me. I think I'll move all in on Taranto, and Green, I think, does have improvement in him and provides a solid option that will be playing the role pretty well there. For rookies for GWS, we saw Shipley, who I don't think will get a game. Briggs. Briggs is a very interesting one. Briggs and Flynn. We're almost. I am thinking for my strategy, I'm better off having Briggs play round one. That gives me another defender, 170k defender, which is great. And if Flynn could play later, there's like a Hunter and me could get downgraded to him. So that's what I'm thinking. If Flynn gets played round one, uh, we've got too many rucks. So I'd rather Briggs plays, and he did all right. I think they will play Flynn, but that is just one to watch. If Flynn does play, he's definitely my R3, even though he might not score as best the other. He has a guaranteed role there, where the other two might have someone come back and take their spot. So that's where I sit with those two. Wanting Briggs to play, but if Finn plays, he's definitely R3. We've got Iden, who might be a backline option for us. He's a bit more than basement priced, but he might score okay down there. He might be just a slow cash burn that we need. It's a hard one. It really is. He might not even get named round one. I think he will, but even if he does, what's his scoring going to be like? It might not be that great. Will he score more than Cumming? I don't know. I don't know. As I said, there's big uncertainty there. Who else do we have? We have Taylor, who it's a pass. Buntine, another pass. O'Hanrahan, he may play. Very stacked midfield. It'd be hard for him to get in. If there's an injury, maybe just him. I'd want him to get in and then score a big game before even picking him. So it was guaranteed cash. That's what I'd do there. Talk briefly about Buckley. He might be an option on the halfback for GWS, but I'd want to see him do really well in that role before picking him. Lockie Keefe, who we're not picking, that's easy, and Cumming, who I've talked about, who did take the kick-ins. Trashed him in my first video that I did. The second team reveal I did, I had him in my side, and now he's back out. I'm back to trashing him. I think he for some reason he doesn't like touching the football, and I think that's where I'm going to stay with him. All right, on to Sydney Swans. Sydney Swans. The question is, which rookies take the field? A lot of people like the Swans rookies. I think only so many can get on the park, and we had a player who I think will take a spot, do really well in the game, that being Sam Wicks. I think he's tackling pressure. I think Sydney will want that in the forward line. So I think he will take maybe a Warner spot, but I'll talk about that when I get a bit more when I get to the rookies. Swans ran with Parker, Rowbottom, Kennedy, Mills as their main midfield centre bounce rotation. So it's real about Mills being in the midfield. That's definitely real. That's there. And in other years, you'd probably go, oh, midfield defender playing midfield lock. This year, it looks like the halfbacks may be scoring a bit more. So we'll have to see. I'm prepared to wait on Mills, and I don't think he's. Oh, he might be popular, but I'm gonna wait. I think it maybe at some point, if he'll slip up at some point, and might be able to get him cheap. That's just my gut feel there. All right, with our rookies, we had Warner. So Warner scored really well as well. Shame is, as I said before, Wicks scored well as well, and they're probably going for the same spot. So with the tackling pressure that Wicks provides, I think they might go Wicks, and Chad Warner will have to wait, which is unfortunate, but at some point I think Chad Warner will be a good option. Then we've got Errol Goulden, who I think will play for Swans in round one. He just provides that spark for them, and you'd want him. He's the sort of player that you want in your side. He can turn a game around, as shown in the first practice game. He can kick on both feet. The kid's a jet, and I'm pretty sure he'll play round one. They had Ling play. Again, didn't score very much at all from his limited time. He won't play round one, so scratch him. Braden Campbell, who didn't score the best, but he took no marks. There was just the same as Hayden Young, who we'll talk about. No marks in a halfback role. You'd think at some point he'd get marks, and if like his score of 57, if that could get increased by, to say, takes 4 marks to around 70, that's a great score. So Braden Campbell playing on halfback, I think the Swans will play him. He's a nice kick, sort of player, and really does release Mills. I think Braden Campbell, but we'll have to wait for round one. And the last one will be Logan McDonald, who's a key forward. I think he'll probably play round one, or maybe not, actually, now I think about it. They might want some time, put some time into him, but he's not going to be a cash cow for us this year anyway. So and that's that. All right, on to our next game. Crows versus Port Adelaide. Now, I think it's well documented. Crows were just some hats out there for Port Adelaide. Really troubling, actually. For like the Crows, the pre-season game is the one they should take seriously. They should want to be coming into round one full of steam, and Port Adelaide should be the ones that are like on just resting, going, "Oh yeah, we've got this," but not the case. Maybe Port Adelaide were, and Adelaide just were that bad. But Adelaide, yeah, wow. There was a lot of people that were going to be picking Adelaide players coming through that might score well. I just don't see. I think this will happen to them a lot this year, so I don't see them scoring that well. Who they run with in the midfield? They ran with Laird, Crouch, Sloan, and Keys, with Schoenberg getting a role in there but didn't score well at all, and Seedsman, who got in there a little bit, but he was on the outer last year, didn't even play. Do they pick him this year? I don't know. It seems like they might. Why would you play him this game if you weren't going to play him? But I don't think he'll be in the middle. I think Keys will get that role. Yeah, Adelaide. Laird, he's probably still a very solid defender option. So you can pick Laird with confidence. He's going to score. He's not really going to have anyone take his spot, so he probably will stay in the midfield, so that's great. The rookies, we all thought we were going to get a lot of Adelaide rookies. Might only get one, and that being Jimmy Rowe. He might be the only one. Butts might play round one, but I don't think he'll score that well for us. Berry at some point might get in there, may get in there. With Adelaide's midfield, I just read out he should get in there at some point. It looks pretty crummy to me. Tilthorpe, does he play round one? I don't know. They've got a lot of tools down there. He might not. Hamill continued his crummy scoring. so he might play, but I don't think he'll score. Chase Jones, another one. How, how do how does that guy not? He must be a dud. That's my only conclusion there. Frampton, again, a lot of tools for Adelaide. I don't think he'll play. McHenry, uh, you wouldn't pick him this year. He was last year's pick. Uh, Hinges one, got a lot of game time, didn't score, and Schoenberg as well. So I don't know. I let's see round one. Maybe they thought they were the best side in the comp and they were just taking it easy this year, and who cares? But the signs look bleak for Adelaide, especially coming up against Geelong round one. Good luck. All right, on to Port Adelaide. So with Port Adelaide, my major thing is take all the scores there with a grain of salt. They were playing witches' hats. They took a crazy amount of marks. There was so many marks in this game. They were doing what they wanted. They ran up a score. They didn't even play their best side the whole game. Like Rockcliffe only played half a game. Boak only played half a game. Dixon played half a game. Wow. Yeah. So take it with a grain of salt. Who they ran in the middle was Wines, Eamon, Drew, Rockcliffe. I'd expect Boak. I think Boak did. He only played half a game. That's why his stats aren't there. But he would be in the midfield. Power Pepper when he's back. But he may be missing for round one. So there may be a spot there for Port Adelaide. But we'll have to see who gets that spot. Very stiff competition. There's a lot of depth at Port Adelaide as well. So onto the rookies. Rookies probably don't get too much of a look in at Port Adelaide, like Bergman and Mead. If Bergman does get named round one, you have to pick him. He can seriously score. Or I don't know. Again, grain of salt, but even if Port Adelaide play North Melbourne round one, there's a chance he gets a good score there. I don't think Mead is up for contention. Lachlan Jones, yeah, he probably if it was last year he'd be playing, but it looks like they've got Aaliyah, who had a great game, so he'll probably play. And next one is Willem Drew. If he does get a game, I find it hard not to pick him, to be honest. He did well for them in the midfield a couple of years ago, but as well with Power Pepper on the outside, does Power Pepper come out and just get rid of Drew after one round? I don't know. So that's one on the watch list, Willem Drew. And the last one I'm going to talk about is Fantasia, who did get subbed out, but he scored 3 goals, playing the Witches' hat, so grain of salt. But again, they play North Melbourne round one. He could get a good score in round one for us and make quick cash. And then if you have him in defence line and depending on how things work out, we might be able to like upgrade him real quick to Williams or something like that. Like, it wouldn't be that far away after some, let's say 2 rounds. He has a good score round one and okay score round two. Someone else, I don't know where you get the cash from, but you might be able. That's something we may be able to do. So yeah, Fantasia. If you have him in the back line, and he might that defender forward might be handy. So that's one to watch out for with Fantasia. Or he could just come out round one and do what the small forwards do and score one behind and sit in the forward pocket all day. But they are versing North, so he'll have opportunities. That's what I'm trying to say. All right, on to the next game, West Coast and Fremantle. We'll start with West Coast. West Coast, their midfield rotation was Sheed, Shuey, O'Neill, Duggan, Redden. The big one for me there is O'Neill playing a lot in the midfield. That probably won't happen come round one, especially with Tim Kelly to come back. But yeah, there's that one. So he's 310k. That's something to look out for. And the other one is Duggan into the midfield. That's real. I think that is real. And Redden will get bumped out. So that's what they look like. I think West Coast just did enough in this game. I didn't see anything special from them. So no big takeaways there. Rookies, they might get some opportunities at West Coast. I don't think they have the greatest depth. That being said, There's no one really that we've been looking at, or yeah, there's just no one that has really been popping up on my radar. They had Edwards, uh, probably not. I don't know if he'll even be a good scorer. They had Winder, who probably not as well. Doesn't look like a good scorer. Uh, Through, who might be alright. He may be alright. That might be one that gets picked at some point, and we'll see. We'll have to track his Resi's games. Vardy, those people that want to play around with their ruck. Maybe if Nat Nui goes down at some point, and he's the first ruckman with Allen as backup, you might think about that. Uh, O'Neill, yeah, put him on your watch list. If he does get solid midfield time, he'll probably score right actually. Zach Langdon, no, he'll just a small forward scoring what's small forwards score. Same with Petruccelli and Jermaine Jones, probably a bit too expensive for what you get from him. All right, on to Freo. Freo, back heavy. So that I'm saying that, and obviously everyone's got a lot. Well, not everyone, but a lot of people have Hayden Young. They do have a lot of halfback, so that's one thing to watch out for. Their midfield, still not quite sure what's going on there. Fife just keeps playing in the midfield, although he did play forward at some point, but maybe that was just resting. What does Mundy do? That's the other question. He keeps staying on in there, and then Chera, Sarong, Brayshaw are the three that everyone just wants to get in there and play a lot. But we'll have to see what that looks like. Of course, they had Sarong and Chera out of this game, and Brayshaw, Fife, Mundy were the mainstays in that rotation for Fremantle. The other thing about Fremantle is they seem to be forward light, so back heavy, forward light, and they might give a few opportunities, which I'm actually not that hyped on because it might mean that Tracy plays, and we have all these rucks play early, and none to downgrade these cash cows as they come through. Like it would be great this year if you could start with a ruck in the ruck spot in the utility, and then as they burn out, you get more rucks coming through that are cheap. Uh, so there's that. The rookies we had for Fremantle were Meek, who I think will play round one. Darcy doesn't look like he's getting up, but just keep in mind that Darcy will be around soon. He'll be around soon. So Meek might not get too many games to begin with, but Darcy might go down injured anyway. So who knows? Said yeah, Tracy I just spoke about. Pearce and Hamling, cross them off. They might play, but they're low scorers. Chapman, uh, if he does get a game at some point, he might be alright. He might be able to score. I don't think he can play round one though. He's intercept defender, so that's good. We saw Frederick, who did phenomenal and had everyone thinking, oh, we might slot him into our side somehow in the forward line, but he's now injured. So Frederick, yeah, it looked like he would have a wing role, but not to be. And the last one is Hayden Young. No marks for Hayden Young. Kick-ins, but that might go when Ryan comes back in. And yeah, so he's a great kick. I think they'll play him. He just needs to get on to some of those cheap mark situations, and if he can continue his great like kicking up, I'm pretty happy with Hayden sitting there. I've had him all pre-season, and he remains there unless he's not named round one for some reason. All right, on to the Dogs and Demons. We'll start with Western Bulldogs. Western Bulldogs had our first midfield casualty being Bailey Smith, and the question is who is the second? Who is the second to get squeezed out of there? Trill Hall looks like he will be back for round one. The marketing powers will probably make that happen anyway. Trill versus old club, he has to play surely. So the question is, who gets kicked out? Is it Dunkley? Is it Bond? I think McRae and Libber are the safest. Being Dunkley the most likely to be kicked out of there. who knows with Bevo? Bevo's a crazy dude, and this year's going to be no different. So who knows what's going on there? Um, yep. So that's the Western Bulldogs midfield. That's the biggest question we have to ask. And what rookies do we have now? This is a real interesting one. Anthony Scott, who played halfback, and if you listen to the AFL Exchange, they said he's in front of Joe Hannison for the spot. Let's hope so, because he would be a good cash cow to have. He's mid forward, and if we could slot him in there, I feel like he would be a good scorer for us. So let's hope that is true. But that's one to watch. He'll be known very early. Like I think he'll be known before even a game's played if he's available. So if he's played, I'm locking him in. On and then with the Bulldogs, I didn't really see anyone else that's putting their hand up. They had Karmas who played half back. He did okay. Um, they had McNeil who might get the small forward role, but probably won't score that well. They had Gardner, Cross, their key defender, New, and Riley West, who's too expensive for what you get. So that's the Dogs. Onto the Demons. Demons have spots up for grabs, and a lot of injuries, a lot of players that are underdone. I just feel like there'll be some spots up for grabs there at the Demons. Um, so I'll have to see what their side looks like round one. So they ran with Petrarca, Harms, Sparrow, Vandenberg as their midfield. Petrarca being the only one I see keeping their spot. They obviously had Oliver, Brayshaw, and Viney missing. Viney's not going to be right for round one, so we'll be interested to see if Harms gets that midfield spot. He did on the weekend and scored terrible. He had plenty of centre bounces, still scored terrible. So I don't know. I think you got to cross Harms off the list now. With a player like Harms, you really like he had the role, but you got to see the scoring as well, and we didn't see that. So Harms is a no-go for me, especially with those other midfielders coming back. The rookies we saw for Melbourne were James Jordan, who is a sneaky chance of getting in round one, so that'd be great if he does. It's another 170k rookie. We saw Bedford, and that's a no for me. I think there's spots up for grabs, but he's not on the drawing board. Bowie, he may get picked, so that's one. He's a little bit more expensive, maybe not the best job security, but or scoring. I don't know, but I think we might have better options, but he may get picked. Neville Jetta, no, he definitely may get picked, but don't think about him. Chandler, no, and last one being Luke Jackson. Now this is a very interesting one. He may get ruck status. I think they got to play him. They've got no forwards, so how much he eats into Max's time, I don't think too much. I think they'll have to play him forward. They literally have no one up there. So yeah, I think he will. What does his scoring look like as a forward? Probably not great. So yeah, we'll have to see. But if he gets more, the more time he gets in the ruck, the more he eats in Max score, the more he scores. So but I think Max will be fine, especially early in the year. All right, on to the last game, which is Gold Coast versus Brisbane. Gold Coast have a lot of tempters on their list. Just look at the top there. They had McPherson, Brody. The list goes on. Jared Witts did really well in the ruck. That's a big positive. You got to be looking at Witsy. No competition, cheaper than those other guys. If you're looking down that path, if you're not looking going to big two, I do believe Witts is a good option. And yeah, they've got the tempters there. It'll be interesting to see what their side comes out round one. They ran with Rowell, Anderson, Greenwood, Brody, and Miller as their main midfield group. Anderson pushed in there a little bit last year. Rowell, I've gone very cold on. Roll there, tackles not, shoulder surgery. The club I think they've been trying to water down hype all year and it just hasn't worked. And now everyone's seen what he's come out and he might not be the best scorer. Uh, uh, to begin with, I don't know, but it's enough for me to say no, and we'll wait. And if he comes out round one and kills it, then you just trade to him. You trade one of those high midfields to him, and you take the cash for the same scoring. But I don't think that's going to be the case. Will Brodie, if he gets named, is another big one. 500k forward. And does he get enough midfield time? Don't know. Could you do it? Or it would be the biggest balls move ever, but it could really blow up in your face. For their rookies, they've got none. The only one I'll talk about is Markov, who may have a nice role sitting off half back. Hasn't been the biggest scorer, but we'll have to see. I'm willing to wait and see with Markov. So the last club, Brisbane Lions. Terrible news with Cam Rayner going down. Did look like he was going to be playing midfield, so that's absolutely terrible there. What their midfield did look like was Neil, Lyons, Berry, McCluggage, McCarthy, Bailey. So I think Zorko's out by the looks of it. He is playing forward this year, and they'll play Neil, Lyons, and then last year they sort of split up their rotations quite a lot. I think that might continue by the looks of it. So it'll be interesting to see if someone pushes to be the dominant guy there throughout the year. I think the low scoring Lions will continue. I think their midfielders will score right, but across the board it might be pretty low. And their rookies, I think the rookies are actually for Brisbane might have a crack. I think the Rayner injury opens up a spot. We'll have to wait and see what they come out with. But what we've got is Fullerton, another ruck, and I think he will play round one because they someone went down for them. Name escapes me right now, but he looks like he will play there for them. There was Sharp, who's a defender, but I don't think he'll play round one, but might be an option for us at some point, which would be great. We're going to need rookie defenders. And they had Payne and Adams, who are key defenders, who you're not going to pick them. And the other one I will mention, he didn't play, was Eli Smith. I still think he's a chance to get a spot. And if he does, I'll be picking him. He will be a good scorer. So there it is. That's my Aami series review. I'll be doing another video in the coming days of best 22s. I've seen some articles and they are absolutely junk. I feel like I've put together some really good 22s based off what the preseason was and what clubs were picking last year. I think they'll be better than what the journos put out. I'm pretty sure that most journos just chuck them together in 2 minutes and don't really think about how sides are actually structuring up. So yeah, I'll be doing that. And if you enjoyed this video, please like it. If you want to hear that next video, please follow me. Please comment on the video. Got some good comments on the last one. I do try to reply, so if you comment, I will try to reply. And thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.